it looks like, an academic problem, but then when we dig a little bit deeper and do some more of our executive functioning testing, we really find that it's a lot more of that that's holding the students back from what they're really able to do.
So today I wanted to jump on with Christine, who is our testing coordinator here at TLC. And Christine has been with TLC for about 5 years now. She takes an active role with our students who are coming in for psychoeducational evaluations. And she also works closely with our school psychologist to score the tests and determine appropriate diagnoses where applicable. So without further ado, Christine, go ahead and tell us a little more about you.
My name's Christine. I am the testing coordinator at Total Learning Centers. I've been here for about 5 years, work very closely with our school psychologists and our parents and our staff members, getting all the correct data about the kids that we are testing, about all of our students, to make sure that we're pulling the right battery of tests, if it's more of an academic situation or if it's an executive functioning situation, to make sure that we have all the appropriate testing and that we get the scores that are going to lead us to the right path and to understand the student and provide the help or support that they need. Younger kids will come and it looks like an academic problem, but then when we dig a little bit deeper and do some more of our executive functioning testing, we really find that it's a lot more of that that's holding the students back from what they're really able to do. And the executive functioning is all the working memory and attention and focus and everything we all use on a daily basis just to, move through life. And when those things are not kind of clicking right, it makes everything else a little bit harder. So to actually be able to, help someone figure out what the problem is, or, just kind of provide some direction, not only for the students, but the parents, they just want to help their student. They want to help their child be the best they can be. And with the testing, we can find that, what's going wrong. I mean, we'll have parents that'll call and say, well, my child just doesn't read. They don't know how to read. Does that mean they're dyslexic? Sometimes it does, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes they just are having problems in other areas with memory and processing speed that are holding them back from really being able to read. So let's dig into all of those things and see, what we can find out.
Well, awesome. Well, Christine, tell me something. So in your role as the testing coordinator, I'm very familiar with the specifics of executive function testing. So, and you mentioned them, but I know not everybody listening here will be familiar with the terms you use. So what are the different categories that students will be tested for when they come in for TLC's executive function testing?
Okay, well, when we look at executive functioning, we are looking primarily at memory, working memory, basically, delayed working memory, processing speed, and attention. There's a couple different subtests we do with short-term memory, and they are the conceptual memory, and that's kind of like when you're given an address. And then you are also, at the same time, you have to hold that address in your memory. And then the person's also giving you directions to that address. So these are all the things that you need to kind of hold temporarily in your mind to be able to complete a task. There is visual working memory where, say, you look at a map or something and now you're trying to figure out from the map and you don't have the map in front of you again. So it's more of like a picture. And then there is verbal memory when, say, you're given a list of like small directions and then you have to remember each step. In our actual testing, we basically, our testing is a one-on-one situation. We're in a room with our school psychologist, and for conceptual memory, he will give them an age-appropriate story that has a lot of details in it. And basically, all we're asking the student to do is to listen to all of the details, listen to the story, and then now tell me back what you remember from the story. So they're basically just within that second repeating back the details of the story that they remember. And it's kind of interesting because sometimes they'll remember things from the end of the story, but won't remember so much from the beginning, or they
Oh,
will remember the
interesting.
beginning because that's when they were really listening, but then they won't remember any of the details from the end. Visual, we show the students a picture for 10 seconds. We take the picture away, and then we ask them, then we give them a piece of paper and say, okay, now you draw the picture. And we do that kind of on a trial basis with them, so they see the picture more than once, and they'll start to remember more and more details. But again, a lot of times you'll look at something and then for whatever reason you kind of check out. It's almost like copying something from a blackboard. When a student looks up to copy the assignment, the math problem, and then they look down on their paper and then they have to keep looking up because they can't remember what they just saw, even though it was a split second ago.
Right.
And then the verbal learning is someone tells you a long list of words, simple words: sand, boat, flag, ear, hat. And we give you the list of words and we say, okay, now repeat back to me those list of words. And again, it's very similar to the story where they, may remember the beginning or they may remember the end. And we kind of do that over a trial period. After that's all done, we usually move on to a different type of exercise. We like to have a little bit of in order to really test delayed working memory, there should be something that happens in between that you're working on, in between what you've just learned, and then we'll eventually go back to all of those little subtests that we gave for the delayed working memory. So we'll do something with processing speed or something, and then a little while later, after we're done with the processing speed, we'll go back and ask you, remember when I told you that story? Tell me what you remember from the story. And then that's the delayed working memory. And sometimes they'll remember all of these things, even things that they didn't remember right after they heard it, but it'll just pop back into their heads. And then sometimes it's a complete blank. And that's when you often get, why did I walk in this room? That explains the things that we're doing in daily life, and you have something in your head and then you walk in the room. And why did I come in here to get something? I didn't remember why I came in here. So we kind of retest all of those things we just did a little while later after they've thought about something else, and then see how much they remember. And then we'll get a delayed working memory score in the conceptual, in the, visual, and in the verbal, memory. Now, when we talk about processing speed, it's like how fluently you can, be given a task and choose the correct answer. We will show a page of pictures, simple pictures, and we kind of go over, okay, we're going to call this picture, this is a hand, this is a star, this is a chair, this is a book. And then we'll open up a large paper, and there'll be rows and rows of just pictures of those items. And what we ask the students to do is to read across the page all of the objects as quickly as they can. So you have to look at the picture. So the processing is looking at the picture, figuring out what the picture's called, and saying what the picture is. So that's where you're making that decision processing speed. The other test that we do is it's a picture, but we're asking you to circle something in the picture that's a specific target. So it may be rows and rows of items, and they're all kind of jumbled up. But what we're looking for and what we want you to circle and find is all of the picture of the ball and the dog right next to each other. So it's just rows and rows of this ball and dog, and they're all mixed up. Sometimes it's ball, 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 dog, dog, dog. But we want you to just find the one where it says ball and dog, and it's two sides, and we want you to work as quickly as you can. And that's all processing speed.
So for students and parents who are watching this video, tell us a little bit more about our process at TLC for helping them to feel comfortable.
Okay, well, our school psychologists are great. What we explain to the parents, because sometimes they're nervous too, because they want their student to do the best they can.
Of course.
And we want them to do the best they can. A lot of the testing, especially for executive functioning, is a game. Can you find it quickly? Can you, show me how many you can circle as quickly as you can? There are times where we do some academic testing, and it's timed, and, we really want you to think. And but we try to make it more of just a one-on-one. We're just here talking, and we're doing these little games, and we're going to see how good you do with the games. And, and then we're going to get your scores, and, and then maybe we'll test you again in another time, maybe, and then we'll see if you can beat your scores.
When you see a kid's pre-test scores, so to back this up, here at TLC, we don't do anything without data. We believe that data is the key to showing progress and showing if something we're doing is actually working. So Christine gets to look at pre-test and post-test scores. And when you see those two scores, especially for someone who's gone through one of our executive functioning programs, brain maps coaching or cogmed coaching online, what do you see?
Okay, so after the testing's all done, we get this score. It's a standard score. Some people understand standard scores, some people don't, but we put it together in a parent-friendly feedback packet. And our student success coordinator will explain the scores of the test, kind of where your student is falling on the pre-test. This is our baseline. This is where we're starting, okay? These are our numbers. This is where, all other kids, your students' age range fall, and this is where your students' scores are, maybe lower, maybe higher, maybe same.
Sure.
So we have all of those scores, all that data from the testing that we did, and then they, will suggest a program. Look, this is kind of where your student is. They may benefit from a cogmed. They may benefit from brain maps. They're a fit. It's a good match for what's going on with them. And then after we'll have someone go through the entire program, and then we'll do the post-test, and then we'll show the parents that same data in a graph form. It's a bar graph, and they can see, well, wow, my student was way down here on working memory skills. And now after cogmed or brain maps, their bar score is way up here. And that's where you see the improvement. I mean, it's really just right there in black and white in front of you, that the programs work. They are proven successful. They help kids remember more, pay attention more, have that concentrated focus that you need when you're in school and the teacher's teaching.
Absolutely.
Timed games we always recommend for processing speed, and that is what, the brain maps is. It, helps you with being able to identify something quickly, click on the right answer, pick the right thing faster and faster and faster, and just kind of challenging yourself almost. And all of those scores are on that graph, and it's easy to see. And we always explain everything. So, we can explain, this was here and now this is here. And, they're doing as well, if not better, than, students their age. And that's, what we want to see. For them to struggle and not be doing as well as their peers, that's really hard for kids in school. So, and they notice it and become aware of it. So to provide programs that can help them perform better is, it's a relief for everyone.
Absolutely. Would you say that most of the time you are in one of those meetings with a parent, seeing those scores helps parents as well feel that we're making progress, as opposed to, all the years of whether it be tutoring or special education that wasn't making that, data-driven difference?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, parents go, oh, wow. Okay, like, wow, that really makes sense now. Or it makes sense why, if we are testing someone for executive functioning and we're talking to the parent and they're explaining, the things that their child would forget or not be able to, do well. And then they go through the program and they're like, oh my gosh, they're doing this so much better. And here are the scores right on the chart. And I can, I get it. I actually understand and can see, that they're not forgetting their homework. They're, learning their multiplication tables better. I mean, it's everything.
Right.
So. Yeah.
So I really think as we're empowering students, we empower the families as well, just giving them these bits of data that make all the difference. And I happen to know, Christine, that you've also dabbled a little bit with your own family in getting them tested for executive functioning deficits.
Right.
So what cues did you see as a parent that prompted you to bring in your own children for executive function testing?
Okay, so I have three kids, 23-year-old, 21-year-old, a 15-year-old. It was really my 15-year-old. And I would say a couple years back, I noticed some things more in middle school, fifth, sixth, seventh grade. Just noticing he couldn't pay attention, basically. Seemed to be listening to me, but then not being able to follow through with whatever I asked her to do. Go to your room and get blah, blah, blah. Would go up to the room and not have a clue what she came up for. She was getting good grades and everything. So I think, oh, it's, a developmental thing. We are just, we're in that time frame of a child's life where they're going through a lot of physical changes and things. So once we get through this, we'll be okay. Right. But it wasn't getting better. And it's kind of funny because I'm working at Total Learning Centers and I'm like looking at this and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what she really needs. But it did take me a little bit of time to be like, okay, we're having you tested. And when we did get her tested, yes, I mean, it did show up like her working memory skills were lower, not lower, but just lower than she should be able to do cognitively. If I would ask a question about something that was part of something bigger that happened, she would have to start at the beginning of the whole story and tell me the whole story in order to find the answer to the question that I was asking.
Yes.
So it just wasn't all there unless she could put it all together, and it really shouldn't take that long to answer the question that I asked you. Now I can relate to parents a lot when they call and I say, yeah, I had the same problem with my daughter. I mean, my daughter's been tutored there for math. I was at the point where, and this is going to sound silly, but in education, if I say this to a teacher, they would understand, I was tired of fighting with my daughter over doing math homework. And, it wasn't that the math was so hard that I couldn't explain it to her. I could absolutely explain it to her, but it was that like mom-daughter thing. I was like, that's it. You need a tutor. I'm not fighting anymore. We're not fighting over scratch paper and pencils.
Right.
So that was just another way that I use Total Learning Center services.
From the parent perspective, if you could sum up your entire experience with TLC, setting your role on a shelf for just a minute, what word would that be?
It's really rewarding, like a relief. One word is hard, but I mean, just
maybe two words.
Okay. I mean, yeah, just really, it's a complete comprehensive package of things that parents and students need. Whether it is, with executive functioning, whether it is with, more of an academic thing, it's the whole package. We have in our building, in our, space where we see students and parents, we are able to make a difference. And, it made a difference for me, for my kids. That's what we all want as parents, to just help our kids to be as successful as they can be when we're not around anymore. So, everyone there is great. Everyone, they want to problem solve with you. They want to, let's figure this out. We will figure this problem out.
We're in it for the long haul. And that's what sets TLC apart. We're focused on long-term success, and executive function testing is just the beginning of that. So Christine, thank you so much for sharing your time and your experiences with us, both as an employee and a mom. Executive functioning deficits are something we're really passionate about, and we want to share it with the world. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.